A pleasant day to all of you. Welcome to the program agenda, and thank you for joining us once again today, and of course for being subscribers of Cignal TV, viewers of One News PH on channels 8 and 250, and thank you for those of you who continue to watch us even on Facebook and YouTube, especially those who want to watch the replays. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, also thanking PLDT, Home Fiber Optic Internet, for their assistance. Mr. Marco Borlongan, thank you for your continued support for Agenda. Okay, now today is August 2, 2022. And it's a Tuesday, and today we have three topics to cover. First up will be about how the Department of Education, or DepEd, is going about its quote-unquote recovery program for areas affected by the magnitude 7 earthquake up north. And for that, we will have their spokesperson, newly appointed spokesperson, Attorney Michael Poa. After that, we will be interviewing a convener of the Stop NCAP, or Stop Non-Contact Apprehension Policy, Convenor June De Leon, because they had that press conference rally yesterday, and we will find out what is going on. And last but not the least, we will be speaking to the Executive Director. Big shot na siya ngayon. Executive Director na siya. Dati, neneng lang namin. Executive Director Joy Reyes of the National Academy of Sports, because that academy has been running and is offering scholarships. But we'll find out directly from Joy Reyes what they are doing and what is it all about. But before that, let's go to our daily starter, and it is from the actor Denzel Washington. Every situation in life is temporary. So, when life is good, make sure you enjoy and receive it fully. And when life is not good, remember that it will not last forever, and better days are on the way. Tandaan po ninyo yan. Kung maayos ang kalagayan ninyo, magpasalamat, enjoy ninyo, namnamin ninyo, ika nga, lasapin. And pag medyo hindi maayos ang kalagayan, magdasal, tanggapin ninyo. And always, paalalahanan yung sarili, hindi ito forever. Hindi naman forever ang hirap, okay? Pag may sipag, may tiyaga, may dasal, babangon at babangon tayo. Okay, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And today, August 2, 2022, the headline, BBM Philippines won't rejoin ICC. The Philippines will not rejoin the International Criminal Court, or ICC, because of differences of opinion and views on how they go about things. The President, Bongbong Marcos, however, did stipulate that he still instructed his legal advisors to carefully study the decision not to rejoin, because if it's going to be a complicated arrangement, then they should consider or reconsider. Okay, so yan po. BBM Philippines won't rejoin ICC. At the top of the front page, period of national mourning declared for FVR. So there in the upper part of the Philippine Star, you have the flag at Camp Aguinaldo raised to half-mast, and in other official areas also, in official buildings, the flags have been placed at half-mast as a sign of respect and loss and mourning for President Fidel Valdez Ramos, who passed away recently. And on the middle portion of the front page, you have the 4 photos there of 4 gentlemen who were recently appointed to government positions by President Bongbong Marcos. Beginning from the left, you have George Erwin Garcia, who is now coming back to the COMELEC as the chairman, okay, of the Commission on Election. Next to him is Lieutenant General Vicente Bacaro, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, a recipient of the Medal of Valor when he fought a 10-hour fight with his men against an overwhelming force of 150 rebels. Okay, so and talaga pong veteran yan, and he is well-trained for the position. Next to Lieutenant General Bacaro is Lieutenant General Rodolfo Azurin, Chief of the Philippine National Police, likewise competent, likewise well-trained with all the experience required for the post. And then followed by Medardo de Lemos, Director of the NBI. Director de Lemos is organic, ika nga. He rose from the ranks and he knows the NBI inside out. So maganda po yung selection na yan. Meanwhile, President BBM or Bongbong Marcos allays monkeypox fears. The president said there's only one case, he's cured, and they are monitoring everything, so no need to panic. And while visiting the Pinas Lakas vaccination drive, BBM called on other Filipinos, please get vaccinated. To the right of that story, we have a photo of 6 beautiful ladies who were all part of the pageant, Binibining Pilipinas pageant, blowing kisses to the press, media photographers during the recent event at the Smart Araneta Coliseum in Quezon City. On the bottom left part of the Philippine Star, you have a photo of Ayala Corporation President and CEO Fernando Zobel de Ayala doing a selfie with partner merchant friends from media and Ayala Malls. Ayan. Hindi lang po kung sinong politiko at mga bata ang nagse-selfie, pati na yung bigating businessmen nagse-selfie na rin. Okay. Transport groups decry no contact apprehension policy, and we will be speaking to one of their co-conveners in the middle of our program today. That's all of the front page of the Philippine Star. Now, let's begin our day of interviews with the spokesperson of the DepEd. Let's introduce him with this video.
Attorney Michael Powa is the newly appointed spokesperson of the Education Department. As a practicing lawyer, his area of specialization is commercial law. Powa finished his law studies from the University of the Philippines College of Law.
Okay, good morning, Attorney Powa. Welcome to the program agenda.
Good morning, Sir Cito. Magandang umaga po.
Just as a, if you don't mind, just to establish everything, how exactly did you become the spokesperson of the DepEd? Because some people assume, that an incoming cabinet secretary will bring a staff from a previous position, perhaps like with Vice President Sara Duterte. Some people think that you became spokesperson because you were part of her staff in a previous position. Is that the case, or could you do us the favor of establishing how it happened?
Yes, sir. To be very honest, I did not know the Vice President and Secretary prior to joining the DepEd as its spokesperson. Prior to DepEd, aside from being a practicing lawyer, I used to also work for the GSIS. No, I've been in the GSIS since 2010 as chief of staff of various trustees. Now, when the vice president and the Secretary Sara Duterte took the helm as head of DepEd, the thinking there was I actually applied for the job because I wanted to help out on teachers' loans because of my involvement in the GSIS, I was quite familiar with the intricacies and the problems encountered by teachers as to GSIS loans, and not only GSIS loans but loans with private lenders. So my goal was to apply for a position and help out with that. So I went through the entire process, no, as well as the other USECs and ASECs that were appointed. Went through panel interviews and background checks, and after that, I was asked if I could be the spokesperson. So it's a daunting task, but I'm up to the challenge.
Well, that's good. The confidence is reassuring. But whatever happened to your first mission, ika na, no? Kasi
actually, sir, when the vice president secretary spoke to me, we had an agreement that even if I'm the spokesperson of DepEd, I would still help out in terms of the teachers' loans, no? Kasi that's where I really have some background knowledge, institutional knowledge, and some expertise. So we will still be pursuing that to ease the burden of the teachers in the next 6 years.
Okay, before we go to the main topic, what is your biggest concern as far as teachers' loans are concerned? Because the GSIS gives out loans. I don't know if the DepEd does, but I do know that the bulk of loans taken out by teachers are from private lenders, loan sharks, 5-6, who actually grab not grab demand, but demand that the teacher turns over their ATM cards.
Yes, that's true. That's very true, sir. No? So basically, what are the concerns? Number one, I think there is a perception that GSIS loans have higher interest rates. Although there's a difference between, I guess, what is the effective interest rates, and private lenders are very good at that. When they advertise their interest rates, it might seem low, but effectively it's quite high. Also, the problem with private lenders is that they also have agreements, no, for automatic salary deduction, and that's something we'll have to review. Due to that, us in government, we have what we call a minimum take-home pay. So what used to happen in the past is because all these loans from the private lenders are automatically deducted, pagdating po sa GSIS loans, they are no longer deducted, and so the teachers end up suffering surcharges, penalties, no, because of late payments or no payments at all. The GSIS tried to do something about that during the last administration. They launched what we call the GFAL program, where the GSIS bought off all these loans from private lenders so that consolidate them all, and the teachers will just have to repay GSIS. No? And we were trying to offer better terms. Now, for now, I guess I cannot preempt anything because no discussion has been really made with this right now. Although definitely this is something that the administration of the Vice President, Secretary Sara Duterte would want to fix, the problem with teachers' loans. We're hoping that, I guess, we could again reconsolidate these loans to one financial institution, whether it be GSIS, with better interest rates and maybe a better amortization period, so that we can improve the net take home of the teachers.
Or failing to do that because of compensation concerns, we could draft up or come out with another assistance package that is not monetary in nature, perhaps in products or whatever.
Non-financial benefits like health insurance, for example, which might seem minimum impact at the moment, but the truth is it has a large impact on the finances of our teachers pag may nagkakasakit, and all that. And PhilHealth, of course, is always there, but it would always be best to have some form of health insurance to also support that.
Well, like one sack of rice. I mean, I remember a time when people wanted to be employed with San Miguel Corporation. This was in the 80s. kasi sikat na one sack of rice a month ang mga empleyado. So perhaps there's something that then you can align that with the agriculture department that gives a market, a guaranteed market for the farmers. Anyway, that's a different basket of problems. Let's go to the earthquake, the recent earthquake and the damage. If my memory serves me correctly, the audit on damage or affected schools was somewhere in the area of 345 ba yun, attorney?
Actually, it's a moving number, sir. No? Right now, we have, at least from the latest data that I got yesterday, we have around 270 schools that have suffered infrastructure damage. No? And what is that in terms of cost? So we're already at around over 1.480 billion. So that's at least, but again, I have to emphasize that is a moving number. On a daily basis, we get what we call a radar report, which is a rapid assessment of the damages incurred.
Yeah.
So every day, this number keeps on moving. We started with 35 on the first day, 35 schools affected in terms of infrastructure damage. But today, we are already around 270 or even and moving up. So once we have a final assessment, I think we will have to really look at the funding requirements for all these reconstruction and rehabilitation needed for schools affected by the earthquake.
I saw a video clip where certain teachers were saying that even up to the opening of classes, they have misgivings about conducting classes in classrooms in the northern Luzon or particularly CAR and Ilocos Abra area because there's still tremors. There was a magnitude 5 earthquake, I believe, at 2:45 yesterday in the morning. So takot sila. What has the secretary said anything about, resumption of classes in those affected areas?
Yes, sir. And in fact, there was a special meeting just for that purpose yesterday where all the regional directors, especially in the affected areas, were consulted. And based on that meeting, number one, yes, classes would still open on August 22, 2022 as scheduled. However, for those areas affected by the earthquake, as well as those areas still affected by the damage brought by typhoons Odette and Agaton, we will look at implementing alternative delivery modes. What does that mean? Number one, we will put up temporary learning spaces. So these are basically makeshift made out of light materials. According to the information given to us yesterday, they could be put up in a matter of 3 days. So that we have spaces. Kasi nga yung mga schools that were affected, infrastructure-wise, they don't have the structural integrity. It won't be safe for our learners and our teachers also to go back to those buildings. Now, these temporary learning spaces, of course, will depend on how many we will need and the study requirements for that. But other than that, we are also looking at going back to modular learning, at least for the affected areas.
Meaning?
We give modules, parang self-study po siya. We give modules to the students so that they could study in the safety of their homes. Or we could implement blended learning, meaning they can go to these temporary learning spaces a few times a week. And then for the other days, they would stay home with the modular part of the learning. We are just trying to consider all options to bring them back to school and no longer hamper learning without physically endangering them dahil po sa mga problema natin dyan sa mga damaged buildings.
Okay, kasi there are two ways of doing it, right? Some people will say audit all of the damaged buildings. Some people would say, hayaan mo na yung damage. Let's audit what has not been affected or what is not damaged. Having said that, do we have any idea of how many % of the current school buildings in the CAR, Ilocos, Abra area are safe and usable?
Right now, sir, we don't have the exact number because, in fact, today, our disaster response team, includes some undersecretaries and assistant secretaries, are on their way to Abra to do just that, to assess structural integrity of both the damaged and the undamaged. Kasi pag sinabi natin undamaged, hindi pa rin po tayo makakasigurado. So we really want to make sure that these are actually ready for in-person classes. I believe they will be there for, I think, 2 days. After that, we will be able to provide you with the concrete information and definite data on how many schools are ready and how many schools do we need to consider other options for. Also, it's a number of students. So we need to look at how many enrollees are we expecting to go into those schools, no? And after that, in fact, yesterday we were already asked by the Undersecretary Densing, who is the Chief of Staff, no, of the Department of Education, to come up with a matrix on how many students are we expecting, how many classrooms do we need, how many classrooms do we actually have, and out of those classrooms, how many classrooms are in fact usable. So with that, we will be able to determine the extent of the damage and the gaps, and we will be able to hopefully quickly intervene and try to come up with options.
What that undersecretary Densing that you mentioned, is he the same undersecretary who came from DILG?
That's correct, sir. That's correct.
Oh, okay. So, Epi.
Epi, yes, sir.
Okay.
Undersecretary Epi Mako Densing the third.
Yeah. Okay. Now, how does the DepEd go about this, attorney? Because determining the safety and integrity of these buildings require structural engineers and equipment. Is the DepEd going to outsource these assessments, or do you actually have an internal team, or are you going to do it with the DPWH again?
Yes, sir. Actually, in the field offices, we do have our field engineers now. But of course, when it comes to the talagang reconstruction of these structures, we will have to coordinate with the DPWH in terms of that. What we can do would be the repairs, but when it comes to structural integrity and reconstruction of these buildings, we will definitely have to, number one, ask for a budget from the DBM, and second, coordinate with the DPWH. But the fear there is when we talk about reconstruction, of course, this would take time, as you know. And that's why we are already looking to alternative delivery modes, because if we delay the opening of classes because we are waiting for the buildings to be reconstructed, we are talking about delaying school for these children, or learning for these children for maybe even a year or more. So we are looking at quick interventions, but definitely when it comes to the structure, we will have to coordinate with the DPWH.
Okay, I don't expect you to have the numbers right away, but guesstimate how many percent are not usable, or how affected will the school openings be in CAR, in Ilocos and Abra?
Well, sir, hard to give a guesstimate, but just to let you know, last year, based on the numbers last year, at least 76% of our schools nationwide have already implemented in-person classes. So I guess we're looking at the 23 point something percent. Baka may nadagdagan lang dyan po sa Abra. But I'm really sorry, I don't want to give you numbers.
That's fine. I assume that would be difficult to just pick out of the air. Now, in the coming days, what new announcements will the DepEd be giving regarding classes, because I'll go straight to the point, attorney. I have always been critical about the school buildings constructed by the DPWH that always seem to be the first to fall, to collapse, or to have problems during typhoons. One would imagine that after 50 years, we would have better school buildings. In fact, President Bongbong Marcos did give a statement the other day that we need to build stronger facilities. Is there a move within the DepEd to review your relationship with the DPWH or how the process is done for school buildings? Kasi parang honestly, naaawa na ako sa DepEd eh. Ang tagal ko na kayong pinaglalaban. I have been writing, talking about it on air that the DepEd has very little resources, little funds. Pagkatapos igagawa pa ng DPWH contractors ng walang kwentang mga gusali. It's just really so annoying.
Yes, sir. That's true. No. In fact, from what I have been briefed so far. So what happens is, although we have budgets for school buildings, they're actually lodged with the DPWH because DPWH is the one who's gonna go build those buildings. So that's definitely something on the table, and we will. There will be a lot of discussion on that. We will be coordinating not only with DPWH but internally in DepEd. We will have to review the process and give our recommendations. Another problem is also the Mandanas ruling, wherein it was devolved to the LGUs, to repair and build these school structures. So that's another obstacle that we're facing because obviously the LGUs, they have a lot in their hands already. I'm not saying they won't be doing it. All I'm saying is they do have a lot in their hands. So it would be good to actually lodge the budget to put up these buildings or school buildings with the primary agency concerned with education, which is the Department of Education. So again, I don't want to preempt the decision on that part, but definitely that is on the table, and that is something that we will be discussing within the coming days of this administration, maybe immediately after we address all, because nakita natin sa earthquake,
Yes.
Na talagang biglaan, we have numbers. And initially, when I thought 35 schools, that's already a lot. But now we have already 276 schools that are damaged. And it's a big problem being very close to the opening of classes.
Yeah, well, not only that, the fact that you have that many buildings affected, parang these are supposed to be modern buildings or recently constructed buildings. These were not buildings built in 1838 or 1907, di ba? This was built in the late 90s or 2000. Yung iba nga nakita ko sariwang-sariwa pa yung pintura, basag na yung poste.
Opo. Exactly, sir. So that is something up to review on how these buildings are actually built by the DPWH. What if there were instructions or anything given by the DepEd on the materials? I mean, we have to really review all these things to ensure that hindi na mangyayari to na hindi konting bagyo, the lindol, yung lindol po natin medyo malakas po talaga. But
yes, given. But Attorney Powa, if you look into the minutes, records of meetings at the DepEd and the communications, I can assure you that the good Secretary Sara Duterte will find numerous material where these damaged buildings were already being complained about by Secretary Briones and her team during their term. Kumbaga, hindi na ito bago, pero I think, in a way, it's a good start for VP Sara that, it calls her attention. So maybe once and for all, this relationship with the DPWH and their lousy contractors can come to an end, and DepEd gets their money's worth.
Definitely, sir. We will look into that, and I'm not just saying this. No, we will definitely look into that because as we've experienced, we've seen how difficult it is. No, when we need to make quick interventions just because the structural soundness of these buildings are not up to par.
Quick question, Attorney Powa, before we go. What are the plans, or is there any plan regarding medical screening for COVID, for monkeypox, etc., when the kids return? Because medyo may pagka-alarmist yung sinabi nga nung WHO that if anything, they are watching children nowadays because children are the fastest, biggest population that transmits diseases.
Opo. Yes. Well, number one, let's start now with COVID. No, so vaccination-wise, as you all know, vaccination cannot be made mandatory. It is voluntary. However, the DepEd the DepEd regional offices were already instructed by our Vice President and Secretary Sara Duterte to coordinate with their regional counterparts in the Department of Health to roll out yung counseling, no, and also a mobile vaccination. I just want to clarify this, no, it is not the DepEd that will be rolling out the mobile vaccination, but we will be asking for the help of the Department of Health to do so. For those who would finally want to get vaccinated, whether that be teachers, learners, no, we will definitely do the vaccination for them. Now, in terms of the standards, we are making sure that the minimum health and safety standards as provided by DOH guidelines will be strictly observed in our schools. So what are those? The usual face masks, temperature checks, alcohol, and of course, physical distancing. That's why that's also a concern in terms of holding classes, because we have to make sure may physical distancing pa rin.
Okay. Attorney, may quick question lang dito, pahabol, one of our viewers, one of our regular viewers. Thank you, Sir Peng. People have been talking about a mafia controlling textbook printing within Department of Education. Is this being addressed?
Yes, sir. We have. I have personally gotten reports of that, and not only with textbook but other school gadgets, no, especially in the field offices. So we will definitely look into that. We are already looking into that, and then we'll do the proper investigation and try to see if there's really such a thing, and if there's such a thing, we will definitely make things right.
Okay. Well, Attorney Poa, thank you very much for your time, Attorney Mike. And I wish you all the best as spokesperson. I pray that you enjoyed the job and that you build long-lasting alliances with the media, and give our regards and prayers to VP Duterte. I really look forward to the day that we have good schools and we build quality schools.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I hope I meet your expectations. But thank you, sir. We will definitely work hard, not only in the next 6 years. No, we're trying to institutionalize reforms for beyond the 6-year period. So thank you.
Thank you. That's Attorney Michael Poa, spokesperson, Department of Education. We'll go for a quick break, and when we return, we will speak to one of the conveners of the STOP NCAP, non-contact apprehension policies. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. And for the second topic of the day, we will speak to the convener, one of the conveners of the STOP NCAP. Okay, let's watch this video.
June De Leon is one of the conveners of Stop NCAP Coalition. He is also the president of Laban TNVS, or Transport Network Vehicle Service. Aside from that, De Leon is also board member of the National Public Transportation Coalition.
Okay, June De Leon, welcome to the program. Kanina, akala ko, direktor ng pelikula yung interviewing ko. Good morning, sir.
Magandang umaga po, Sir Cito. Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng ating tagapanood.
Okay, could you give us a background? Because itong NCAP, Non-Contact Apprehension Policy Complaints, we've seen so much of it on social media. And yung mga umaangal have largely been private car owners, drivers. Pero yesterday, when I was speaking to Vernon Sarne of Visor magazine, he told me that you were going to conduct a press conference yesterday, a protest regarding that. Medyo nabigla ako, bakit may protest? Kasi kuyang, hindi lang private car owners ang apektado, pati na yung mga transport networks. How has this affected your group, June?
Tama po, no? Malaki po ang epekto ng no contact apprehension program sa hindi lang sa mga private car owners, kung hindi sa pampublikong sasakyan, katulad ng mga motorcycle taxi, hanggang sa mga trucks, so pinakamaliit na sasakyan hanggang sa pinakamalaki. Dahil po itong no contact apprehension ay napakalaki po ng pinataw na multa na ordinansa ng mga local government unit. Kaya ang isang huli po nito ay nakakahalaga ng 2,000 pesos. Ang second offense po ay 3,000 hanggang third offense na 5,000 pesos. Kung sa public utility vehicle, sir, ibinibigay natin sa mga drivers ang apprehension. So sila ang pinagbabayad natin.
Siyempre, kung sino yung nagmamaneho, he who drives and commits the crime pays the fine.
Yes. Opo. Dapat po ganoon. Kaya lang, ang problema dito, Sir Cito, napakaliit po ng kinikita ngayon ng mga drivers natin kumpara sa pag binasin natin dun sa violation fee, napakataas po. Kung kumikita po ng 15,000 monthly ang mga drivers natin at nagkaroon ng hulian ng 10 huli sa loob ng isang buwan, 20,000 pesos na po ito mahigit. Kaya hindi po kakayanin talaga ng mga drivers.
Medyo exaggerated yung example mo, pero nonetheless, pinapakita na itong mga ginawang penalties or fines ng mga local government unit, medyo abuso, parusa, hindi paalala, parusa talaga, hindi lang parusa sa sibil, parusang financial pa. Now, matanong ko lang Jun quickly so our viewers can understand. Uniform ba yung mga fines and penalties ng NCAP between Manila, Quezon City, and Parañaque? May iba pa ba? At saka uniform, pare-pareho ba sila ng fines?
Tama po kayo dyan. Pare-parehas po ng fines. Uniform po yan. Parañaque, Valenzuela, Manila, at Quezon City. Ang kakaiba lang dito, yung Metro Manila Development Authority or MMDA, nagpapatupad din sila ng no contact apprehension program. Pero ang mga penalties po nila ay mababa. 150 to 300 pesos po ang mga penalty ng MMDA. Bakit hindi gayahin na lang ito ng mga local government unit? Para naman, kung mapapansin nyo po, ilang taon na po nag-i-implement ang MMDA ng no contact apprehension, pero wala pong reklamo. Masasabi
ba natin, June, na may kartel? Kumbaga, pinag-usapan, meron ba kayong, do you have any information that would suggest that this, kasi parang sabay-sabay naglabas at pati yung MMDA nag-react nga na teka, ayusin nyo naman yung mga penalty ninyo. Klase bang napag-usapan ito ng 4 na bayan na yan o syudad? Maaari pong mangyari yan dahil pagkakaalam po natin ay isa lang po ang nasa likuran nitong no contact apprehension program. May isang kumpanya na system provider at nagkakabit ng mga cameras, kinausap po nila ang mga LGUs
at gumawa nga ng ordinansang ganito. Kaya po nagtaas sa tingin natin, kaya po mataas ang singil ng mga LGUs dito dahil may isang negosyante na kumikita dito sa no contact apprehension program.
Sila yung naglalagay nitong mga camera kasi ang akala ng maraming tao sa Metro Manila, itong no contact apprehension, ang ginagamit ay mga cameras ng MMDA.
Hindi po 'yan. Mga private po yung nagkabit ng mga cameras. Kaya sa tingin ko kaya tumaas, no? O marami pong naghahati-hati dito.
Alam ba ninyo kung sino yung koneho na nagtulak niyang negosyo na yan?
Ang pangalan po ng kumpanya ay QPax.
Ano ka mo?
QPax.
QPax? QPax.
Opo, wag niyo pong babalik na rin, Sir Cito.
Wag na, parang pinag-iisip mo pa ako, pambira kang bata ka. So QPax is the company, the common provider nitong mga cameras sa mga 4 cities who are now implementing the NCAP. Paano ninyo nasabi naman na yung QPax ang nagpupush nitong NCAP na ito?
Alam niyo po, sinimulan po ito sa Valenzuela, tapos sumunod na ang Maynila, ang Parañaque, ngayon ang Quezon City. Noon pa lang po, sa Maynila pa lang, marami ng reklamo na natatanggap tayo galing sa ating mga kasama sa hanapbuhay sa transportasyon. At ito po ay tinutulan po natin sa Maynila dahil po sa napakataas nga po. At doon po natin nalaman na ginagawa na palang negosyo ng mga LGUs itong no contact apprehension program dahil syempre meron pong nasa likod nitong private company na negosyante. Syempre kailangan kumita po yung provider nito.
Bakit? Binibigay ba nilang libre yung mga camera?
Hindi po. Ito sinasabi nga nila public-private partnership, pero magkano lang naman ang camera magkano lang naman ang system? Bakit hindi na lang gumawa katulad ng MMDA para mababa ang penalty at hindi nila ginagawang gatasan ang mga transport drivers and operators?
Okay, tapos isa sa mga naging complaints na nabasa ko na lang sa dyaryo ay meron daw mga ilang transport operators na natataranta because they don't find out immediately na may huli yung driver nila. Malalaman na lang nila pag ipaparehistro na sinisingil na sila ng 70,000, 100,000 dahil patong-patong over 1 year period. Accurate ba yung nabasa ko na yan?
Tama po yan, sir. At dati nga po, umaabot ng 10 buwan bago nila mapadala yung violation. So patong-patong po, umaabot po sa iba, may mga ibang operators sa isang sasakyan, umaabot ng 2 hanggang 300,000 ang isang penalty ng kanilang mga sasakyan. Kaya yung mga operators po ng taxi, katulad ng taxi, TNBS, talagang tinututulan ito dahil hindi naman po kasalanan ng operator ang mga violation ng kanilang driver, traffic violation. Tapos ang hostage nila ay ang rehistro ng sasakyan. Ito po ay nakipag-memorandum of agreement ang Land Transportation Office sa LGU para taga-hostage sa mga renewal ng registration ng mga sasakyan.
Okay. Ngayon, matanong ko naman kasi fair is fair. Ika nga, kung nagkasala, magbayad.
Yes.
Yung bang mga no contact arrests, meron bang grupong nag-evaluate na at napakita na mas maraming no contact arrest na mali, sablay? Kasi yung mga napakita sa social media, klarong hold up talaga dahil yung right turn lane nilagyan ng lane divider na pagkalaki-laki, hindi makakalusot ang kotse, so mapipilitan. Ayan, yung pinapakita natin na yan, pinaling, nilagay yung lane divider, pinaliit ng husto yung lane. Ayan, huli na yung pobre na yan, nakumana na yan, titirahin na yan ng illegal right turn.
Opo, 2,000 piso po kagad ito. Kung mapapansin nyo po, yung infrastructure natin or kakalsadahan natin, sa tingin po namin ay hindi po naka-ready para sa no contact apprehension program.
Hindi, tsaka yung kanina lang na pinakitang video, hindi ko na nga marami na nagko-complain dahil naglagay ng bicycle lane, naglagay ng motorcycle lane,
may barrier
naglagay
pa
ng half lane for bicycle, motorcycle, ayan, yan, yung nakikita nyo sa kanan, ladies and gentlemen, may bicycle lane, hindi ko alam kung ano yung half lane na yan. So, siyempre, iiwasan mo yung half lane. So, ayan, kahit naman matinong driver, pag talagang sinasadya ka, madadali ka. Anyway, any last comment, June, bago tayo magtapos?
Ayun. Sana naman po dito sa mga nagpapatupad ng no contact apprehension program, pag-isipan muna at sa tingin ko yung mga LGUs kailangan baguhin muna, i-repeal nila yung ordinansa na ginawa nila. Dahil po unang-una hindi pa po ready yung mga infrastructure natin. Katulad po kanina nung pinanood natin, 1.5 linya lang yung ating kalsada. Talagang wala kang pupuntahan dito kundi mahuli. Pangalawa, yung mga stoplight po natin. Na ito lang mga kahilingan namin, napakaliit. Mga stoplight natin, lagyan natin ng mga timers. Kaya lang, yung MMDA po mukhang
i-phase out na nila.
I-phase out na nila. Kami po mismo, nag-iisip, parang hindi ba kakontsaba na rin ng MMDA dito?
Kumbaga, ginastusan natin tapos aalisin natin. Pero nag-explain naman yung tiga MMDA na they're adopting new technology. So anyway, pagpatuloy nyo lang, Jun. Kasi at least ngayon, nadidinig na, napapansin na hindi naman pwede tayong manahimik. Kung hindi, ay miya't-miya talagang gugurlisan ang mga wallet ninyo. Maraming salamat, Jun.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Cito. Mabuhay po kayo.
Okay, that's Sir Jun De Leon. He is one of the conveners of the Stop NCAP. And for those of you na medyo are sitting on the fence on this issue, we all have to do something about it. We have to complain because it is now confusing to drive in Metro Manila. Hindi mo na alam kung you are doing the right way or the wrong way of driving, if you are driving on the right lane or the wrong lane. Anyway, we will continue to follow this subject matter. In the meantime, let's now shift to the third and final topic for today. We would like to feature the National Academy of Sports, which came into being by virtue of a law signed by President Duterte, I think sometime back in 2020. Let's introduce our guest, the Executive Director for NAS, with this video.
Joy Reyes is the first and current Executive Director of the National Academy of Sports. Aside from her master's degree in physical education, Reyes touts her wealth of experience in the field, having served as head of the Physiology Unit and a consultant at the Philippine Sports Commission. Prior to this, she was the chairperson of the Sports Science Department of University of Santo Tomas.
Okay, Executive Director Joy Reyes, welcome to the program. Nakamute ka, Neneng.
Yun!
Ayun, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, for transparency purposes, Miss Joy Reyes, yan po, the first time kong na-meet yan, siya ay neneng na tumira sa amin sa UP Village. Isa sa mga ampon namin itong batan to. Ngayon, Executive Director na. But you have pursued a life of sports. You were into volleyball, UP, and you got into that field in terms of education, Joy. We're so proud of you. Pero let's talk about the National Academy of Sports. Medyo we hear about it, but we don't know what's going on and what is it about.
Yes, Kuya Cito, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me here in your program. and this is really a good opportunity for me to share and to give information about the academy. And yes, Kuya Cito, is that okay? I will call you Kuyang, ha? Okay. So let me start with Cito. The National Academy of Sport, as you mentioned, this has been a long time dream of the country. No, this dream is finally a reality with the establishment of, by virtue of RA 11470, which was signed by our former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte on June 9, 2020. You're right, that was it happened 2 years ago, in fact, 2020. Now, it has been created to develop the athletic skills and talents of students in world-class sports facilities, which are at par with international standards.
Okay.
And Kuyang, the academy is mandated to implement quality and enhanced secondary education integrated with a special curriculum on sports. So our aim here really is to ensure that our student athletes excel in both academics and sports. I think this is the first time that this is a legacy, in fact, of former President Duterte, that he was able to build a structure, but it is not actually only a structure, but a facility that would cater to both academics and training facility. So our academic...
So kumbaga eskwelahan na gym pa.
Hindi lang gym, Kuya Cito.
I mean, I use the term loosely. I use the term loosely.
That comes with age.
Okay. Okay, sige.
Okay.
Sige, abusuhin mo akong neneng ka.
Sorry.
Okay. But no, anyway, so it's a sports facility. But when you say, okay, you have a school and a world-class sports facility, are we talking about the full scope of a sports facility? Kumbaga, may basketball, may volleyball, may swimming pool, may track and field, etc.
Okay. Actually, that's a very good question. The NCC, where the new Clark City, where the NAS will be, is already there, Kaso ngayon, yung infra is still ongoing at about 98% already ang infra namin ngayon, which consists of academics, building, administration building, and the multipurpose gym. Yan yung malaking scope doon, yung sinatawag mo gym. It's a sports facility of international standards. Now, okay, since nabanggit mo naman kung ano yung mga sports facilities nandito, I want to mention that during the 2019 SEA Games, when we hosted that big event, meron ng existing aquatics and athletics stadium, which we are so happy that DCDA gave us an access to use these existing world-class facilities. So, NAS, having those facilities, kumbaga, plus na yan sa amin, naging plus na yan sa amin. And in fact, we included those two sports in our focus sports. So ngayon, since nabanggit mo na yung mga sports, actually we have 8 focus sports right now. Of course, the first 2 that I mentioned, aquatics, athletics. Now we have badminton, gymnastics, judo, table tennis, taekwondo, and weightlifting. So these are the initial 8 focus sports that NAS is in fact offering.
Okay, now my question is, because sorry, Joy, we have about 4 minutes, 5 minutes left.
Okay.
I just want to find out, okay, people who believe they have children who have athletic potential, or coaches in the province who believe they have students or kids with the potential, how can these students avail or be enrolled in NAS?
Okay. We have a specific program through which we are able to initiate the admission process. We called it the Nascent SAS, or the NAS Annual Search for Competent, Exceptional, Notable, Talented Student Athlete Scholars. So it is the annual search to identify and offer scholarships to academically competent and athletically talented natural-born Filipino youth from all sectors. No, we are actually doing inclusive education. So all sectors of the society, including the indigenous people, persons with disabilities, and other marginalized sectors. Now, in fact, we just completed our second cycle of the admission process as we enter our second school year, this 2022-2023.
How many slots do you always have available or annually?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, annually ang target talaga namin is 150, no? That is our target. But you know, as we speak, we have a pioneer students of 63, no? In the last year, ito yung mga nag-enroll ng grade 7. And our pioneer batch now are moving up to grade 8. So we have a new batch now of grade 7 of 63, no, successful applicants, which awaits board approval, no, of their scholarships. So, Kuya Cito, actually, we are admitting grade 7 and grade 8 only, no, grade 8 being a lateral entry of the academy. So, ganun lang, because we want them to start with us, and then after that, completing grade 9 to 12 in the school. Pero ang admission lang natin is just grade 7 and grade 8. No?
So you admit them at you accept them to NAS at grade 7 and grade 8, and then they continue with their education in NAS.
Correct. That is correct.
Up to up to 12. Grade 12.
Grade 12.
And then during that whole time, they are also part of an athletic program, training program.
Yes, definitely, because that is the mandate, no? They should be
now live-in lahat yan, on-site lahat yan. What about funds, baon, etc.?
Yeah, okay, sige. So as we speak, no, these are the provisions for our student athlete scholars who will successfully complete. So they have, again, this is a boarding school, so we really take care of them, no? It's a full scholarship. It is a state-funded institution. So they have free tuition, free board and lodging. We will be building the NAS dormitory for them. So ngayon, since ito ay still part of the plan, no, ito ay will be constructed this year up to next year. So again, BCDA was being so gracious with us to use the athletes village temporarily. So yan yung nakikita nyo ngayon sa screen, no? Yeah. So complete well-equipped naman itong athletes village because this has also been used during the SEA Games. And of course, providing them the quality secondary education, which is truly a mandate for us to deliver, and access to specialized sports training in world-class facilities.
Yeah, but what about the quality of trainers and coaches?
Okay, I think that's one of the things that I'm very proud of. We have a very good profile of coaches. These are all national coaches, in fact, and been into world-class exposures. No, they've been a world-class athletes as well. So, like the likes of yung sa badminton natin, si Kenny Asuncion. Yan ang isa sa mga badminton coaches natin, no? Si Dindo Simpao of badminton, of taekwondo. Okay? So we have coaches that are really qualified to train our athletes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, congratulations, Joy, and it's good to see that not only you have blossomed professionally in the sports, in the field you love, but it is also nice to see that the National Academy of Sports has come into life, is growing, and I'm sure that we now have all the right reasons to invest in that, even from the private sector, especially after people like Hidelin Diaz brought home gold medals, etc., or EJ Obiena, etc. So we have all the right reasons, and we hope that you, as the executive director, will have breakthroughs for the private sector and the public sector to support our blossoming or our really talented athletes. Thank you very much, Joy.
Thank you, Kuya Cito, for the invite. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's Joy Reyes, and I'm sure we will be featuring the National Academy of Sports more and more in the days to come, especially when they start having athletes or student athletes that are performing in the competitions. Okay, in the meantime, let's go to our blessing for the week. And it is from the book of Psalms, chapter 20, verse 4. May God give you the desire of your heart and make your plans succeed. So that's our blessing for you. I pray that that happens to each and every one of you watching Agenda. Please keep it here on One News PH.